Hello, my name is Mary Louise, and I'll be presenting my honors project, which is titled Assessing the Current Landscape of Science Communication Learning Opportunities for Undergraduate Science Students in Canadian Private and Public Universities. And so the public has to be able to understand the basics of science so that they're able to make evidence-based decisions. Unfortunately, there are very few channels for scientists to communicate science to these non-specialist audiences. And so for our study, we were looking to identify the presence of any disparities between the promotion of science communication, or SciComm, training at Canadian public and private universities, because in most cases, private universities offer a faith-based education in which they offer alternative curriculum and different pedagogical approaches. So just for instance, private universities may focus primarily on the acquisition of workplace skills, whereas public universities might focus primarily on communication activities, which are both important skills for institutions to continue to emphasize. But given the lag between the adoption of SciComm values in the scientific community and the development of curriculum to support and teach it, we were looking to assess the attitudes and the values related to SciComm to undergraduate students of science at both public and private Canadian universities. So this project is an important part of a greater study that is attempting to paint the landscape of a curriculum map for SciComm training opportunities for undergraduate students of science in Canada. And so in all of Canada, we found 9 private universities that offer undergraduate science degrees. And so we paired these with 9 public universities within the same regions, which led to our study looking at 18 universities in Canada, which offer undergraduate science degrees. And so in order to assess the objectives of our study, we used a 2-pronged approach to gather data. So first, we looked at department websites from the faculties of science at all these 18 universities so that we could quantify the extent to which they promoted SciComm skills as learning outcomes. And then secondly, we distributed surveys to undergraduate science personnel and professors in order for us to be able to map the existing SciComm courses or other learning modules that exist. And so in order to begin our data collection, we needed to establish the number of instances of key terms relating to SciComm. So based off of a partner project completed by a previous student, Sydney Smith, that assessed undergraduate skill development opportunities in SciComm at Canada's U15, so the research universities, she created a list of key terms that related to the concept of communication, which were organized into 5 categories, just in order to standardize the website searches. And so we found that our list also fit very well within these same categories. And so by analyzing the number of key terms, occurrences related to SciComm from each university's Faculty of Science web pages, we found that public universities have a higher occurrence of key terms than private universities. So 68% of key terms were found on the web pages of public universities, whereas the other 32% were found on private. And then we also found that public universities were more receptive to our survey. So among all 29 survey responses that we received, 79% were from public universities, whereas 21% were from private. And so the first question of the survey looked to find courses that are centered on communicating science to non-specialists. And we identified 4 courses that fit this description, offered by 4 different universities, among 3 of which were public and 1 was private. And then finally, the second survey question looked to find courses that contained activities or assignments related to the communication of science to non-specialists. And we identified 30 courses that fit this description, offered by 6 universities, of which 83% were public universities and 17% were private. And so our initial observations suggested that as public universities received more support and governance from the government, these institutions might also promote more SciComm initiatives and training to their undergraduate science students compared to private universities. And so our results from both the website analyses and the surveys highlight that while both types of institutions do provide some degree of SciComm training opportunities to their undergraduate science students, public institutions do seem to value and promote SciComm skills to a higher standard than private universities. Nevertheless, though, SciComm curriculum in Canada is still in the very early stages of development, and it seems that more work will need to be done in order to integrate these skill sets into learning experiences for both private and public institutions. And so that's all for me today. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.